interesting one because I think everybody on the panel actually has a really strong presence in games. But as we were doing our prep call earlier this week, we started to understand that actually what we were starting to talk about kind of broadened into a lot of different areas. Areas like how brands are viewing digital audiences, how rewards are being, parsed out both in the digital world as well as the real world. And I think we just have a really great group of people who have been really innovative on all parts of the chain. So I think what we're going to do with this panel is just kind of lay out the basics of rewards, but then let these guys talk a little bit about the future, because in general, in a world where games have sort of a monetization of anywhere from 0.5% to 3% on a monthly basis through in-app purchases, new revenue streams are continuously needed, and as this revenue stream becomes more and more prevalent and more stable, these guys are just going to have bigger and bigger and bigger and more powerful businesses. At least that's my view. So with that, I'd like to introduce the people on the panel, and maybe I can just have you guys kind of say two things. Number one, what you see as the biggest opportunity in rewards and loyalty and the biggest challenge as it relates to your own business. And then we can spend a little bit of time, once we've done the introductions, just talking a little bit about how your businesses are different and what slices of the rewards chain and loyalty chain you are all going after. So let me start with Courtney, one of the co-founders of Kiip.
Yeah, so my name is Courtney Guertin, and co-founder and CTO of Kiip. So at Kiip, our whole goal is to reward the achievement moment. And obviously that's in gaming, that's where we started. But I think as the future progresses, there are achievement moments everywhere. And it all kind of amplifies down to certain gamifications in certain areas. But I truly believe that as we expand to whether it be wearables, whether it be in health and fitness, education, and things like this is where brands want to be a part of these experiences, and you can surprise and delight people with these different achievement moments. And I would say the toughest context is creating the right reward at the right time. And so I'll kind of explain that a little bit later.
Sure. All right, next up we've got Terry, a co-founder of TrialPay.
Hi, Terry Angelos. I am also the person with the most boring socks here. What do you have there?
Red stripe.
All right. So TrialPay, early on, we kind of invented the concept of having advertisers effectively sponsor entertainment. So the whole reward concept for us was, how do we take these very large digital audiences and really reward them in a way that makes sense for them and helps them become more engaged, in some of their games. For us, the big opportunity is, if you look at the U.S. economy today, it's about $2.5 trillion. 95% of that is offline. So, how do you take your tens of millions of daily, daily gamers who are playing a game on their phone or their computer, and they represent a massive part of the economy? How do you connect those two open worlds? And so we focus a lot on allowing someone to, for example, walk into a Starbucks and as they buy their coffee, get a free life in, say, Candy Crush. And so connecting those two worlds we think is a large opportunity because the gaming, entertainment app worlds contain very, very large audiences. And if you can drive those folks into real world scenarios where they're generating value, it's a win-win-win for the Starbucks of the world, and it's a win for the consumer, and then as a developer, you capture some of that $2.5 trillion GDP. And then I can buy some socks.
I'll let you. So we'll talk about the biggest challenge you guys have in a second as well. But next up, Andrew, CEO, co-founder of Playstudios.
Great, it's great to be here. So we are in the rewards business a bit by accident. We started off, our company is really focused on extending the whole Las Vegas experience on the Facebook and mobile devices. And there are a lot of people doing that. But for the most part, what they've been doing is kind of porting these traditional slot and traditional casino products onto these devices and these channels. For us, the Las Vegas experience isn't only just about playing great games, but it's also about advancing their status and having this ever-expanded collection of services and benefits revealed to you. And so loyalty programs in Las Vegas are a really important part of the way they engage and market to their consumer. And so we felt it was really important that we have that as part of the whole dynamic of our play experience. So we ended up building a loyalty program, and suffice to say, you probably better characterize our company as a game-based loyalty platform, where we, I think in a very contextual way, have integrated rewards into the experience of playing our games, which what we found absolutely translates to a deeper level of engagement. And so, it's been a really interesting exercise. You say identify the one challenge that we're confronted with. It'd be hard to do because there's a whole lot of them. The whole idea and notion of integrating rewards and making sure that the stuff that you offer up to your players is of interest to them, and that it's priced appropriately, and that there are the right types of restrictions attached to those rewards, so that you're ultimately motivating the right kind of behavior that will translate to value for your real-world partners. Getting all of that right is really complicated. And so, we spent the better part of the last 10 months really working on and refining our model and building out the tools that allow us to do that dynamically. And so, we think it's a really unique part of what we do and how we've executed on our whole vision.
Great. So, I'll go back to Courtney for a second. You said that delivering the right message to the right person has been your biggest challenge. Maybe we can take that kind of from the brand point of view. What did it take for you guys to get brands to believe that you're able to deliver the right thing to the right person? And how have you seen that progress over the last few years? I'd love to hear the other panelists' view on it also, in terms of just the maturation. And I know, Terry, you've been at it, I think, since 2006, so early in the space. I'd love to understand how large advertisers, brands are viewing these kind of applications and games, and where we are sort of in the budgetary cycle. So I think it always comes down to that. If you tap into the budget consistently, then you've got sustainable flow on both sides.
Yeah, so we started 3 years ago, and when we launched, our goal was to launch with 10 apps, 10 games, 10 games and 10 brands. And we wanted large, recognizable brands. And they were test budgets at the time. We just kind of started out. We didn't have any true metrics that we could share with them. And one thing that we learned, and we kind of wanted to experiment with, and we had very, very good partners like 100 Flowers, is to see what types of rewards people would engage with and react to. So one good lesson was 100 Flowers. We had $50 gift cards, $25, $10, and $5 gift cards. And the one with the least engagement was the $50 gift card, because people were just like, what is this? Are you just scamming me? And so it's building that trust. And over the years, as we've grown our network, we're able to analyze what data is working better on what apps and what applications and what genres. And building that trust factor, and being true to the user, we've been able to target better, figure out the context of when it's right, figure out what moments work best for each app, create better best practices for the developers, and customize the experience that works best for them. As you get larger, and as you can aggregate more data, you can use that more effectively. And I think the hardest point at the time was getting that snowball started. And there was so many chicken and egg opportunities, but kept on streaming.
And it's a chicken and the egg because the brands want to see a notion of reach out of them.
Yeah, and knowing exactly who they are. And you'd be surprised. A lot of us play these apps. Some of them are very large, and there are a lot of amazing developers. They know their audience really well, but they might not know the exact demographics of the people at certain times. They know that they range heavily female, heavily male, but and perhaps young or old. But you don't know at the exact time always of who this particular person is. So using a lot of data, we've worked with the devs, we're able to basically do more precision on the targeting. And now at scale, because we're in over 1,500 apps, we can do that.
So Terry, do you have any thoughts on what scale is for these advertisers?
Yeah.
What they're looking for?
Yeah, so I think a lot of advertisers, especially brand advertisers, want something very unique that doesn't actually scale. So I always kind of smile when you see the headline article in the Wall Street Journal about how Petco sponsored some kennel inside of some sort of pet app, and it was perfectly set up for that particular environment. And those work terrifically well for press and actually have great metrics. But the amount of effort required to have that perfect custom experience just doesn't make a lot of sense. So you start off there, you have to build up those use cases. But to reach scale, you have to have a very large number of advertisers and a scalable way of reaching customers. So without a lot of customization, otherwise you really are just kind of cutting these one-off deals. For us, we have found that our large national advertisers are very effective. So one example would be Burger King. There's 6,500 Burger Kings throughout the country. You can pretty much find a Burger King anywhere. And so that's a good offer, right? I mean, everyone in this room, I assume, has lunch every day.